Today, team, we're going to be going over how to do a pull-up. We're going to break down how to start a pull-up, how to make it harder, how to make it easier, how to even do your first pull-up. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of regressions before you can really get up to the pull-up. You know, especially for most people, doing a pull-up is a pretty big achievement. So I'm going to start right from the very start. Start with how to basically build it up and how to make the muscles that you need a bit stronger. And then I'm going to show you how to make basically the pull-up easier to do. My name's Tom. I'm going to be helping you out today. Let's get into it. Okay, so today we're going to be going through, like I said, all the different variations of a pull-up and how to start it off. Now, for most of you guys in gyms, there will be something that you can start on to help build your strength up and basically get it going. The main muscles we're going to be looking for are in your biceps, in your back, in your lats. Okay, they're the three big ones. Obviously, you need all your muscles to do anything, but they're the three that we want to work on to make sure we get strong. Obviously, a pull-up is a power to weight, is a power to weight ratio. So the less weight and the more power you've got, the easier it's going to be. So as your body fat and as your weight comes down, but as your strength comes up, it's also going to get easier. But they're the three main areas that I would look to do first. Now, in our gym, we've got a TRX set up. So this is just basically a system where you can just use your body weight to start building yourself up. In a lot of gyms, they'll have like a cable stack or a lat pull down. This is probably your best bet. Now, what I would start off with before even getting on to pull up is working on all your pulling movements, okay? Probably the best thing that we do and the easiest thing that I would suggest for most people to start with is this movement, all right? And it's practicing your pull-up technique from the ground. And you can use your you can use your feet, you can use your legs to make it easier. But basically the movement that we're looking for is to be able to mimic what we do in the pull-up, but from the floor, all right? So it's here, pulling up and controlling down. Now, you can use your legs as much as you want. So obviously, if you want to push up with your legs a little bit more to help squeeze yourself up, great. Or if you want to keep it really neutral, you can put your feet on the wall and do as much of it. Probably I would need to pull this TRX up slightly higher for my arms because they're a bit longer. But you can put your feet on the wall and pull as much of your body weight up as you can. That's quite a tough way to do it. All right, so that would be the same as if you had a lat pull down at the gym, where you're in this position. Obviously your hand position does make a difference. Again, I'm going to be showing you a flat, regular pull-up on there as well. Because if you hold it in a neutral position, it is going to be slightly easier. You're going to be using your biceps a little bit more and it is easier to get up. But I'm going to be showing you the regular way. So once we've gone from here, we've progressed up, you're able to, let's say, quite easily pull yourself up each time with the TRX. Obviously, you've progressed it to make it harder and harder and harder, and you've got to a position where you can pull yourself up. Great. Then we're going to start working on the next phase of the pull-up. So I like to work on grip strength next, and this is where we will implement like a dead hang. If I show you from this way, dead hang, again, some of you, I'm blessed that I can just grip onto it without even jumping up, but use the bench if you need to. Dead hang is important because we're building up hand strength and just the ability to grip onto the bar. But what I want you to think about a little bit more when you're working with a pull-up is what your back is doing in a dead hang, because we're going to almost use the dead hang to start the pull-up each time. So if you look on here, so I've started my dead hang like so, and I'm actually going to use my toes or the bench to give myself a little nudge off the ground, because I want to start practicing that flowing movement, where I'm pulling up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick up off the ground to there. And if you notice, if you come from the side, if you notice, I'm arching back slightly and switching on my lats, which are these muscles in here. So I'm here, so I'm right underneath, little flick up with my toes, bit of a bend in my elbows, and I'm just practicing starting the movement off. So watch again, it's here, flick, pull, try and hold it, and control down. And just that there, that'll be plenty hard enough to start with, because you're just starting the movement off. And again, you can do exactly the same if you use the bench. This is probably too high for me, but it'd be exactly the same, flicking up to there and controlling down. Now actually, this makes a good point. If you want to use your bench to your advantage and just go up onto your tiptoes each time, just to take some of the weight off, that's a good way of doing it as well. Okay, so that's your first starting point. Next, we're then going to move on to basically using the bands. Now, in most gyms, they're gonna have a few different bands. We've got the body power ones. Black is the strongest, so it's the thickest band. So if you're thinking about what's gonna help pull me up, the thicker it is, the more weight it can support, basically, with pulling you up. So again, you don't have to just use one band. If you wanna use two, great. You may as well make it easier to start practicing the technique. What you need to do, I'm gonna use the orange band for this today, because it will probably be appropriate for me. Well, first of all, if it's not tied on, make sure it's tied on. Basically flick it through the gap and pull it down. Make sure it's nice and tight, not moving anywhere. All it needs to be is you are pulling this down. I'm gonna say do it into your knees, especially if you're on your own. If you've got the luxury of like super thin bands that flick all the way to the ground, great, because then you can, basically you can just stand on it. But I'm gonna move these out the way so you've got a better angle here. So if you look, it's in my, it's in my knee, okay? That clearly isn't liking that there. So it's in my knee. Hopefully that's gonna stay out the way. If it doesn't, oh, fine, it doesn't matter. It's there, and what that's doing is just supporting your weight. Now, you'll probably find to start with, you'll swing around. Just wait for it to stabilize. And if you need help stabilizing, put one foot against the wall, like so, or one foot on the bench. Now, depending on the band you picked, it's gonna give you a bit of support. Now, what I want you to do is do that starting movement that you've just practiced, that flick, just with the band, like so. So it's flick, pull, flick, pull. You're not aiming to go the whole way up. It's a little flick, switching on your lats, practice the movement, and pull up, okay? So that's the first bit. Next, again, we're progressing to that full pull-up now. All right, so I'm gonna use the black band for this one, just again for ease, so I can talk and do this at the same time. Flick it in, or put your knee in. Black one's gonna give me a bit more support, a bit more weight, so I can support my body easier. So, what I need you to think about with your hand position, just slightly wider for this style of pull-up than shoulder width apart. So if you think where my shoulders are, they are just either side of them there, okay? We are gonna be looking for that first little flick, okay? And from there, I'm gonna keep gripping, I'm gonna turn my lats on, and I'm gonna pull all the way up, and chin goes up to that position before controlling down. All right, I'll show you again. Use your bench, use the floor if you need to. Flick up, pause, control down. Okay, so we're looking to get our chin roughly to the bar. That's the aim. Eyes kind of come up to just over it as well. But the main focus, especially when you're starting, is the eccentric, the bit where you're coming down with the pull-up. Because that's the hard bit, and that's the bit that's hard to control. It's easy, and I say easy, it's easier to use power to explode up like we did with the flicks. If you can use the band to your advantage, always think about the downwards movement. So if you watch again, as I flick into this, if you watch, like I said, it's easier for me to get up to there. It's this bit that's hard to do without a band. So that's why I'll always probably recommend you flick up quickly and down super slow. Flick up quickly, bang, super slow. And that's what's gonna get you strong with your pull-ups. Hopefully then, obviously just be careful when you're taking that off, you don't twang yourself in the face. Hopefully then, you can then progress onto like a full pull-up. Now, it's exactly the same principle to start with. What I want you to try to do is with no, move this over slightly, with no bands, we're just looking to do the flick, 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 like so. Before what we're gonna then go into is a jumping pull-up, okay? This only works if you've got the bench and the space to do it. So if you haven't, put a bench in, half size, just to give you enough spring off the floor, basically. But I'm lucky I'm tall enough that I can do this. So what you're gonna do, hands on the bench, hands on the bar. You're gonna go here, and you're gonna do a big explosion with your feet, like that, and it's exactly the same. Control down, okay? You're gonna reset each time. Wipe your hands if you need to, if you've got sweaty hands like me. Grip on. It's an explosion up, so give yourself that boost on the way up. 3, 2, 1, explode. And control all the way down. all right? And that's basically it's the last progression at this stage before you just go into your regular pull-ups. When you start a regular pull-up, if you want that little boost to start with just to get you into it, great. But really, from there, it's just onto your regular pull-ups, where you're starting here, pulling up to that position. If you want to have a little reset each time, just to give yourself a rest, you can. But really, you want to get up to there to switch on, and then it's all about that pull each time. So I've given you quite a few options. Remember, always start easy or easier. Use your equipment to your advantage. Okay, so if you can't quite do a regular pull-up, TRX pull-up, you know, you can always start with exercises like here, where you're building up your lats, or wide for the top of your back. Again, you've got your bent over rows, where you're pulling up, again, building up these areas. Bicep curls, anything that's gonna make you strong on the top half is gonna help. Then you progress to using the bands, okay? Really easy to flick through these and start progressing, and obviously starting on the black band or multiple bands, moving your way down the colors, even to a point where just using it like that. Having a couple of bands, even if they're light bands, is gonna make a world of difference. Before finishing with explosive pull-ups, you know, where you are using your force that you're creating with your feet to help get you up. And then finally, just regular pull-ups. So hopefully that helped. Common mistakes typically we're gonna see is people either just doing it too fast, rushing it, not finding the grip, or, you know, even, I say it's not a mistake, but not resetting, drying their hands. You know, if you get sweaty hands like me, it's really hard to just actually stick grip onto the bar. Use chalk if you struggle with that. Other common mistakes we typically would see as well is basically just trying to force it when you're not quite ready. I would say, like, you're better off just doing this movement before trying to hurt yourself and get your whole way up without really getting anywhere. And the last thing is moving on through the bands too quickly. If you can't control the way down, you shouldn't be moving up a band, for me, okay? Hope that helped. Any other questions, let me know. I hope you enjoyed.